Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of 67 Hail Hail Live. I am your host, John McGinley. With me is Asim, and we're here to talk Celtic as usual. Now, our last video, Asim, was after the Feyenoord game. We couldn't quite make a live one directly after last night's match, but we've all had a bit of time to get over that late goal. We've all had a bit of time to digest what was an exciting Champions League night at Celtic Park. How are you feeling now you've woken up, gotten on with your day a wee bit? How are you processing what went on last night?
Hi John, been a while since I've been on, but yeah, you're right. It's probably in hindsight a good thing we didn't have a live reaction after last night. I think I echo probably yourself and all the Celtic fans that it was just utter dejection coming out of that ground because as the game's progressing, you're looking at it and you're thinking, right, this would be a missed opportunity if we don't win, but you feel like we played well and if there is going to be a team that goes on to win, it would be ourselves. So just coming out of that ground with a sucker punch like that, just total deflation and dejection. As you say, kind of slept on it and reflected, and the emotion's still the same. You're absolutely gutted, and then you kind of try and delve into things a bit more deeper. The game in isolation, obviously, we'll discuss. Then you look at the bigger picture and stuff like that. I thought we played well. I thought it was a good performance. It was quite an even game in the first half. Obviously, we'll go on and discuss it further, but utter dejection and still to be honest, this morning I woke up feeling quite gutted as well.
It was an interesting roller coaster of feelings for me. Obviously, when you come so close to a result or a victory, and then it gets taken away from you, it hurts more almost because you feel like there was just such a big opportunity, such a big chance for Celtic to pick up what would be a bit of a statement win last night. Then you kind of console yourself with the fact, well, we were good in the game. It was a good performance. We went toe to toe with them. We nearly got over the line, etc., etc. And then you go through the phase of, am I just deluding myself? Am I just
Yeah.
kidding myself down, kidding myself on here? Like, what are the systemic issues here? And then you come back around again. Is it just a game of football, and we just need this is just like one game of football, and we can't go too deep into it. So I've run the gamut of all that over the last
Yeah.
24 hours. I would say over the last 12 hours. Um,
I
and so
think for
that's how
me, John,
yeah.
yeah,
Go on.
sorry, just to kind of touch on that, yeah, I think it's the same kind of discussions that we're having after each of these games, and it comes to a
Yeah.
point where you feel like it's just becoming a bit repetitive, the fine margins, and we'll learn from it, but it just seems like this has been going on too many seasons in a row now, where it is those fine margins, and that's when you then start looking at the bigger picture. Is that just maybe, the lack of strength and recruitment and all those things on top of it? Because in isolation, it was that we were the better team, and you try and console yourself with the fact that there was good spells in that game, and we competed well. We looked like the team that were going to go and win. There was good patterns of play. There was things to take encouragement from, but then you come away and we've lost again at home to a team that was more than beatable. So it's that frustration that when do we start learning those lessons?
Yeah, and again, it's like you look at the match, and so you obviously I've had it's natural to have those feelings, and I've had similar feelings, and then you start to think, is it fair on these players to like project the last 15 years of Celtic fan woe and Europe on this group of players? I know a few of them have been there for a few seasons. I know one or two of them have been there for a few seasons. The majority have been there for 2 seasons. So there was elements of like the last year obviously brings its own baggage, but I think Celtic fans and myself included are holding on to so much baggage from before the last
Yeah.
couple of years, and it's like, sorry, just fixing my hair there, just we hair malfunction there. So, but over the last, are we projecting too much onto these players based on our own feelings over the last decade or so,
Decade.
or
Yeah.
is this like, is it fair enough to have a real go at these players? Because some of them are kind of at the beginning of this almost. It's not, they've not been in Europe for the last 10 years, for example. Only one or two of them. So how fair is it to judge them for that?
Yeah, I agree. I don't put this totally down on the players. You look at some of the guys that are starting last night, Yang, for example, who I know the opinions are kind of split. It seems from after a lot of people are maybe defending him and saying, look, he's got something. he is very raw. But he's came in and he's playing at a completely different level to what he's used to, and we've thrown him straight in there in a Champions League match, and I felt like it showed at times, with some of his play. So it is. You're right. It seems like it's an overriding issue here rather than just in isolation this group of players. But that's where it comes down to for me. I felt like we should have been building from a position of strength last season where, Ange kind of mentioned it last season that you need to constantly play at this level to get better. So, you've got that core group of players who now have 2 seasons in the Champions League under their belt, or mid the second season under their belt. The year before, we had a strong Europa League group. So this is a season where I expected to see us now not making those same mistakes and
Yeah.
having that extra bit of quality. And I just feel like we've not really helped the manager with our recruitment to bring in players who are, because I don't think the likes of Yang have been brought in to start immediately in these kind of games. I think that's not fair on him, and it's showing then in the performances where I just feel like that extra bit of quality on both sides of the pitch, and we could have won that game. And that's the frustrating part for me is there's enough there, and I think tactically we've been good in both games. I think in both games we've restricted the opposition from creating many chances. We've looked well in the game. We've competed, but it's just that bit of quality on both ends of the pitch, which I feel are missing that these other teams have, and that then again comes down to recruitment for me.
I agree with that. I agree with the recruitment stuff. It's like, yeah, so I'm kind of processing this in real time, but I mean, my feeling is that the team itself and the manager are in this situation, and then there's like issues behind that and long term planning on the side of the club almost. And I think I'm probably more frustrated with that side of it. The summer window was very slow, and it kept feeling like we were going to do something or do something towards the end of the window, and it just never seemed to quite
Yeah,
come together in the sense of excitement and adding the players that you really thought we needed. So I was one of the people who were kind of in a wait and see mode during the summer
yeah,
and trying not to get too, annoyed or panicked by it. But then it just never really seemed to come together. And when you're thinking of like, we let Jota go right at the start of the summer. We had all summer to replace him, and I don't think we adequately did that. And if you're looking at last night, you're looking at a player like Jota would have just lit that game up last night, I feel like, and would have just relished that opportunity to go
yeah,
against a team like Lazio, who I think were there for the taking for us
yeah,
last night. I know Lazio are a very good team, and I know they've had the problems this season, but they were very good last season. They've got a very good manager. They've got some really star quality in that team, but I still felt they were there for the taking last night. If we just had one or two players or a couple
yeah,
of players in key positions to go at them, and I think that's what we failed to do in the summer, unfortunately. But what I see from the team was it was a pretty good performance, and the goal we scored, Asim, was
yeah,
outstanding. It was one of the best goals we've scored in Europe at that level for a long, long time. It was a well worked team goal. It wasn't a counter attack move. We didn't, it was just a well worked team goal. Maeda coming in, O'Reilly, Kyogo, finish, bang, and it was just a goal of real quality. And a goal like that gives me a bit of hope going forward.
yeah. It was a stunning goal, as you mentioned. It's one of the nicest goals we've scored in Europe in quite a while, and it was a perfect start. I think it was just around 10 minutes in. I thought we started the game pretty well. That got the crowd really going. So we've got that in us. We've got players like Matt Riley again. I think was more than holding his own in that kind of company. I feel like he's getting better week on week. Daizen Maeda, brilliant bit of quality as well. They're coming out from wide, and then Kyogo, it's brilliant to see him break that kind of Champions League duck. It's the one thing that people have been saying is, he just needs to do now, and a lovely finish. So it was all looking good, and there were moments of play like that, even in the first
Mm-hmm.
half, particularly in the second half. Whilst we didn't create a lot of clear cut chances, and again, for me, that comes down to we are lacking that creation in the wide areas. I'm looking at it from last season. Even if Jota had stayed, I would have been looking to add another winger of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of quality to complement him, Maeda, and Abada, for example. Now that you've got Abada injured, you've lost Jota. I just feel like we've, again, encouraging signs from Palma last night. But I just think that the kind of blend of wingers we've got right now isn't complementing the creation, the creative side of things. We're not creating as many chances as I'd like. Um, but within that we limited Lazio. I think they had a spell when they obviously scored, and just before that where they came into the game. But by and large, I thought that people mentioned the difference in style of football, obviously between Ange and Brendan, and I think Brendan's style is suited to Europe almost because it is more slower and possession based, but it keeps the opposition at bay. So it means that we're in a bit more control throughout the game, and I did feel that in both games, even the first half against Feyenoord and again last night. I felt tactically we were set up fine. It was like we've alluded to already, just that maybe a little bit of lack of quality in certain points, but there was encouraging signs, as you mentioned. I don't know how you feel like. Do you feel like tactically we were quite sound last night?
I felt tactically we were good, but it's just a little bit slack in one or two areas. I thought Greg Taylor was pretty, and Greg Taylor's been good the last couple of weeks, but I thought Greg Taylor was looking slack, and I thought Hatate wasn't really in the
Sorry.
game as much as I would like, or he was in the game, but he just wasn't quite as his distribution just wasn't quite there. He's better
Yeah,
than that, I think, and I think that was a problem for us. I think our left hand side last night was an
it
issue.
was weak. Yeah,
So you're looking at Taylor and Yang, and I think moving Maeda over to the right side, and Maeda offers a lot of protection to his fullback when he plays there, and so Taylor not having that protection and a slight weakness there, made it easy for Lazio to target that side of the pitch, and that was a real problem.
and that's
So,
been a
but
recurring theme, John. Like if you look at it again, it's something that we've talked about, and Taylor had he had a brilliant season, in Ange's first season, and again he's came on to a game recently domestically, but it seems in Europe he does get targeted, and it does seem a recurring theme, and it's an area again. I don't want to keep harping back to it, but obviously we've not really kind of discussed the recruitment over the summer,
no,
but
no,
a lot of it does keep coming back to that for me as to why these things are happening. We didn't strengthen the goalkeeping position, we didn't strengthen the left back position, we didn't bring in an adequate replacement for Jota, and I feel that those are the areas which consistently are letting us down. Because as much as you can be in control of a game and be playing well against, like you say, a Lazio team who were there for the taking, you just see it, that bit of quality, they'll punish us, and we keep getting punished at this level.
and I think Rodgers knows this. I mean,
Yeah,
Rodgers hasn't. There's been a lot made about what transfer comments he's made and hasn't made, but I think he's made it quite clear that he wants more quality in this squad. I think he's made that clear without having to go to war with the board, etc. I don't think he's done that, and I don't think he wants to do that.
yeah,
But I think he's made it clear that he wants more quality in the squad. That this squad is an ongoing project. It's not the finished article. I think there was the kind of how that conflicts with us as supporters is we're looking at last season and going, well, we've won the treble, we've got loads of money in the bank, and this is a real position to kick on from. And we haven't kicked on from that, frankly, and it does feel like that we're at the start of something again.
yeah,
Whereas Rogers coming in at the time felt like it was just going to be a culmination of everything and a kind of like taking us to the next level type thing. Rogers is like he's
yeah.
almost starting from the start again here. So we have to be no cognizant of that, and Rogers would admit that as well. But it should be on Celtic, the people who were already there, to make sure that we did push on from that level last year. And I don't think enough people at the club were pushing for that, frankly. And I think there was, we had the financial results. There was all this talk about how we have to keep a financial buffer, etc., etc., etc. It just didn't feel like Celtic were ambitious enough or just grabbed it by the throat enough this summer, and I think the opportunity was there to do that, and that's been the frustration, and that's what we're seeing. But what I'm actually seeing from this team on the pitch and what Rodgers is doing, I'm actually quite heartened by. Like, he's getting a good game out of Liam Scales. I know Liam Scales, people look at Liam Scales and say he's not good enough to be playing at the Champions League, but he's actually performing pretty decently. I know he had one or two slack passes last night again, but I think he's playing well just now. Rodgers is getting a game out of him. I do think with Luke set up well, Rodgers is getting the best out of Matt O'Reilly, for example. I think Maeda's improvement under Rodgers, and I think Kyogo will score consistently this season again. So it's difficult because I am frustrated with the club and frustrated with what
Yeah.
went on in the summer, but I'm also quite encouraged with what we see on the team, from the team and from the manager at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Putting aside the frustrations with like we've said, the recruitment and how we felt we could have really gone on from a position of strength last summer rather than almost back to square one, which it feels like again. Like you said, with Rodgers coming in and having to kind of bed these players in. But in terms of, I feel like he's absolutely the right man for the job, and you can see signs of encouragement already. Obviously the performances at the start of the season were a bit ropey, but you just feel from that Ibrox win onwards. We've got a bit of momentum domestically. With again, performances can still improve. We've seen that in the Motherwell game. There are still things there that need worked on, and that'll come. But generally, you feel like he's the right man for it. There are encouraging signs. Like you said, Matt O'Reilly, Liam Scales. I think Carter Vickers. It was just unfortunate because I thought when he came on, he was great
Yeah.
again.
Mm.
Even just I think he helped so much with our build up. As much as ironic as that sounds in terms of obviously how the goal came about, but he's very good on the ball. He starts a lot of our attacks, and I think we'll see an improved performance from the team in general with him back. Like I say, just unfortunate, one of the very few errors he's made, and it's cost us. But I think the team will gradually improve once we get a few of our players back. That's majority of them here now. And with Rodgers just being the kind of elite coach that he is, I think gradually we'll see an improvement in the side. It's just frustrating, obviously, in terms of the Champions League. We're already chasing. We're 2 games in, and
Yeah.
you're already feeling that deflation of it's a tall order to climb, and that it just gets because it's year on year now that we're feeling like this, and you just want to see that progression. Obviously the new format next season, so we don't know, but you don't want to give up on this group already. But it just feels like such a long shot, just because I remember last night my dad was saying towards the end of the game, he goes, if we're not going to win this, just don't lose it, because it
Mm.
just it keeps the momentum, it keeps that kind of confidence. It would have been two home games in the Champions League in a row without defeat. I know it's maybe 2 draws, but it just keeps you going. It would have kept the group tight in terms of Lazio only being a point above us. It's just stuff like that, game management, and Rogers kind of referred to that as well, isn't it? It's just
Mhm.
about not, making sure you don't lose that kind of game if,
Yeah.
if you're not going to win it, because it didn't look like we were going to lose it.
No, I mean I don't think Lazio did much in that second half at all, and I think that they were almost playing for him a draw from like the 60th, 70th minute. You could see them kind of regressing a wee bit and kind of just playing quite safe. And I think they would have been happy with a point last night.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to read too much into the goal from the Carter Vickers perspective, like you, just because he's coming off 6 weeks or something off. Then he was off for months before that. For me, that was a situation of a player not being quite match sharp enough. And I've seen some people say, is have Celtic got a mentality problem? Is it a problem with that? That goal in isolation, I didn't think was like a systemic issue with the team and us in Europe, but I thought it was just
yeah,
a pretty isolated moment. I know we've said this in the past, but it was an isolated moment. Carter Vickers in that moment, coming back off an injury, just didn't deal with it well enough, and that was that. But it'll be great to have him back up to full speed, and hopefully, he's much sharper for when we play Atletico and Feyenoord down the line.
yeah,
It does feel like a bit like someone said it in the comments, but a bit like that old only fools and horses things of next year we'll be millionaires. Whereas like we'll always seem to be thinking, oh well, next year it'll be better in the Champions League, and it's
yeah.
never better, and I think that's what is so frustrating for everyone. But I guess we'll just have to see how we compete against Atletico Madrid and take it from there. Any other issues or good things you saw in the performance last night that you want to highlight just before
Yeah,
we move on a little bit?
yeah, like you said, I think Liam Scales a few kind of iffy moments in the first half, but again, I feel like he's growing week on week. I'll be the first to say when he was announced in that game at Ibrox a few weeks back, I, like many, was like, oh, this is going to be a struggle, and from then he's just going from strength to strength. He's been the kind of consistent centre back, and amongst us chopping and changing with Lagerbielke and Phillips there. So yeah, I'm encouraged to see him continue to grow, and I
Great
think
moment
Rodgers.
last night when he had that tackle on the touchline
Yeah,
on Felipe
yeah,
Anderson, I think it was in the first half where he was running through and he just absolutely he took the ball, he took every inch of the ball, but he
yeah,
absolutely smashed him, and it was a cheer went up that was almost like a goal for that one, which was
yeah.
a great moment for him, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, you've seen that just kind of got the crowd all going, and he's growing. You can see that he's got that belief now that he belongs at a level. Like you say, a couple of iffy moments, but he grew into the game. Had an acrobatic attempt towards the end
Mm-hmm.
for a goal. So no, I'm very happy for him. Palmer, who I kind of
Mm-hmm.
not criticised, but made a comment after the Feyenoord game. I thought he looked a bit one paced, and I stick by that in terms of he does. That's not, but I've seen a bit of quality now from him in the last couple of appearances, which is good to see. I feel like again, it's just that kind of blend. I feel like with him, obviously, he's not as pacey or tricky in terms of beating a man, but he looks like he's got quality on the ball, whether it's a finish, a cross. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think he's maybe due a run of a starts now, maybe to try and make that spot his own. And
I
I
mean,
thought Matt O'Reilly,
yeah, no, we'll come into O'Reilly in a minute, but just on Palma, like there's good things and bad things I like about him. The good things I like him, he's just so full of intent. He's always wanting to try and get
yeah,
into the box or shape up to the goal, which I really really like about him. And obviously, you want that in a winger. I do think that maybe the pace, maybe just a touch one footed. Like
yeah,
he really favours one foot, which isn't great. And so we'll need to see how that develops. I do think there is quality there, and I do think like that kind of ruthless edge. Stevie of GigPod, I know of 67 Hale mentioned it to me that he's got a touch of Chris Commons about him, and just that
mm,
he's kind of devilish in and around the box, and he's just
yeah,
constantly wanting to look to create something, which is a really good trait. But he might not be the quickest, which I think
yeah,
is apparent. But we'll have to see how he develops. Again, my issues with the wingers is just right back to what we were saying before. We signed like three wingers this summer. We signed Pillio, Yang, and Palma, and I just don't think we've replaced Jota at all, which is a
no,
real disappointment. But Matt O'Reilly, impressed with him. Brilliant little layoff for that goal. Just
yeah,
absolutely, just beautiful touch right
yeah,
into Kyogo's path. Knew exactly how many strides Kyogo had to take and just put it right on his
yeah.
foot. Beautiful moment, and he played well again.
Yeah, I think in the first half, I think like you say, Rio Tati was kind of really off it. So I think there
Mm.
was a lot of work for Matt and Callum to kind of put in there to almost cover that. But brilliant, it's just great. He's getting involved in so many assists and he's adding the goals to his game as well, as we seen at the weekend. I think he's just going from strength to strength, even as a leader in the kind of group. It seems obviously this is his kind of 2.5 years he's been here now, so. He's growing. Yeah, I feel like he belongs at this level. He's really impressed me. He's obviously enjoying his football under Rodgers. You see how much it means to him, even at his reaction when Lazio scored that second. He was got. I've seen his post match reaction interview as well. He's really bought into the club and he's enjoying his football. Obviously, got his contract extension, and I just think we'll continue to see him grow. I just hope now, obviously, Hatate, now that he's got his contract sorted, I hope we can start seeing the best of
Mm.
him because I just think we haven't at all this season.
Mm.
So once we get him up and running, I thought Bernardo looked sharp when he came on.
Yeah, I thought he
Actually,
did. Yeah, yeah.
I'd forgotten about him because he's not featured obviously since I think he came on in Holland against Feyenoord. So I'd totally forgotten about him. But I thought he looked neat and tidy. So maybe a run of games for him now, and we can see.
I would like to see Bernardo maybe not start on Saturday against Kilmarnock, maybe get half an hour though, like a good
Yeah,
chunk of time in that game. I'd like to see what he's got to offer because I did think he looked pretty good when he came on. Is maybe Palma's near goal accepted was maybe the most impressive sub on the night. So I was quite happy to see him come into the game. And again, we're going into this Kilmarnock game. It's another must-win game. Potentially move 10 points clear,
yeah,
Asim, which would be like crazy to be 10 points clear in October. I know they
yeah.
play on Sunday, but it would still be crazy to be that clear. And I guess if things are going well domestically, we can try and put a little bit more focus into these European games and make them even bigger events for the team and the squad, and hopefully try and salvage something from this group. It would be really good. If third looks like a big ask now,
Mm.
but it would be really good to pick up a win in this group at some point and really give fans something to actually cheer about in this competition, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that like you said, second and even third now, just because of the way the results have
Mm-hmm.
gone, it looks like we're going to need an away win.
Mm-hmm.
If we're to get it's a weird one though because the group seems very tight. There's every game has been close. Yeah, it's hard to kind of place between Feyenoord, Lazio. Atletico looked like the standout team, but even they had a tough game against Feyenoord there. So I'm still we've got to still hope that we can pick up some points and, like you said, a win. Would be
Mm-hmm.
a great start, but you don't want to after two games almost rule out European football after Christmas. So the next one again, it's a home game. You just hope we can get points on the board and then just give it our all in the last few games. It's frustrating because we went into this campaign when the draw was made. We were all quite pleased with it. It looked like, and it's still for me, having watched the two other teams against us, I feel like
Big
we've been
opportunities there for
big
us.
opportunities and yeah. So let's hope we can carry on the momentum domestically. Like you said, a big chance to put up a big lead on Saturday, and then obviously the two nearest challengers play each other on the Sunday, so there'll be drop points there. We're in a good place domestically. You just want to see us now really hit a run of form and performances as well. It's been a wee bit up and down in terms of performances. I thought, really good at Livingston, then obviously not so good at Motherwell, but a nice win in terms of the manner of it, which is always great when you get a last minute winner. So you just want to see us really click on. I think, in terms of the home games this season domestically, they've been, again, we've not been at our fluent best. Second half against Dundee was good. So you just want to see a nice run now, and then hopefully increase the lead, and as you say, then use that to fully focus on trying to pick up points in this Champions League group, because that was our main thing at the start of the season. We wanted to see, obviously we won the treble last year, so we wanted to now see us make a bit of inroads in Europe, and that's what Rodgers came and said in his first press conference, and it's what all the chat's been. So you don't want to just rule that out now, straight away, and it's like, okay, we're doing well in the league and that's our bread and butter. We know that, but there has to be tangible progress, and for now that's not just performances, because it needs to be points, and let's hope over the next couple of games we'll see that, albeit a difficult task.
Yeah, but I've just been bringing in some comments while you're speaking there for the viewers, and it's kind of the similar comments to kind of what we've been saying all along.
Yeah.
Frustrations with the transfer window, some hope in the performance, and we'll see how we go going forward. I do think a win, like JGI just said, the first comment I brought on, saying a win is a turning point for this team. It changes the mindset for the players at this level. I think there's an element of truth in that. So I think if we get a win between now and the end of the group, that would be good. That would be
You
really
think if
strong.
Palma's goal had stood, and we managed to get that
It would
victory
be
last night,
feelings. Yeah,
yeah, everyone would be talking about great impact from the subs, and tactically we were sound. We finally got that win, so just the whole mood would have been different. And I know, even if, like I say, even if we drew, we would have probably came away quite disappointed that it was a missed opportunity. But again, just to avoid that defeat, so it's a gutter, but we have to move on. We've got a game just around the corner now again, so hopefully a win there just to kind of lift the spirits again.
so pretty exciting schedules coming up. Actually, we've got
Yeah.
obviously they've got the Command game, and then obviously there's an international break. But as soon as we come back, I think it's bang bang bang. It's like Tynecastle, Atletico Madrid
Yeah.
home, Hibs away, Easter Road.
Oh,
So that's a big week for the club. And we'll just need to hope that the players, because it felt like the players were building confidence a little bit, and it felt like you were seeing, good signs within the team, and you just hope a result like that doesn't deflate them after putting so much into the game and then just losing it right at the death. So we'll see. Hopefully they're really up for it on Saturday and just push on from here and get on with it. But we'll be around to talk through a lot of it, not all of it. As you know, there's just a number of videos on the channel at the moment, which we explained on the last video, or the last couple of videos really. And it'll be the same going forward. We'll get our videos out from time to time, but not the daily content that we were doing earlier in the year. Hamish was on the last video. If you missed him, he's in Australia. He's enjoying himself. I'm still around. We're on the website, etc. But we'll try and get out more videos as the end of the year progresses, and talk more and more about Celtic. But at the moment, I think everyone here, myself, Asim, Hamish, and Stevie, I think we're all feeling pretty similar to what we're seeing in the comments. To be honest, we kind of came into this blind. I've not spoken to Asim for a wee while, and we're kind of on the same page. So it feels like the support, at least, isn't fractured. It feels like everyone knows what we want and kind of how we get there. And it's really about the club delivering on it now, isn't it, Asim? It's about the club delivering on promises and our resources and our foundation and our stand-in, and put out a team in the park that we feel
yeah.
can take on some of these teams in Europe.
Yeah, obviously the financial results came last time on the
Mm-hmm.
eve of the Feyenoord game, and I don't know, again, if in terms of the optics of that wasn't great,
Mm-hmm.
because you then follow up with, well, on the back of what most people felt was a disappointing transfer window. So yeah, it's time to now put the evidence of that on the park, because
I
it's
agree.
all great having those numbers, but I think the fans are not going to buy that anymore when they're seeing that we're not strengthening the way we should be. We brought in a lot of quantity, as one of the comments said there. The quality, we're not ruling these players out, but a lot of them need time. And I think the main focus this summer should have been players that were ready, first team ready. And I think we can all see that's not been the case. So let's hope. They always say January is a difficult time, but I feel like, again, if we can start the recruitment process early, get them ready for I don't want to look way down the line, because we're still in the middle of a campaign, but unfortunately that's the situation we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm. No, you're
window's
right.
over. We have to deal with the squad we've got, but personally, I think we're all in agreement that the squad just seems a bit short. We've got to use this experience to get those players some more experience at this level, but as of January, we have to start putting those financial figures into good practice now.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So we're away. Enjoy your afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining me, Asim. We'll be back when we're back, and we'll be chatting Celtic. So thanks for joining us live. Thanks for joining us in comments. If you're joining the comments, plenty of good discussion in the chat. So hopefully, plenty of good discussion in the comments as well. Let us know what you think we need for Celtic to compete at the Champions League level, or even the Europa League level, or a European level in general. Let us know what you think the club need to do from this point forward, and we'll be happy to have a look at it, and people will be happy to chat with you in the comments. So we'll see you there. Good afternoon. Catch you later.